'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a grot? A squig? Not even a squig? There's gotta be a good way to say that. Not even a snot? Yeah, you get the idea. My friends, welcome back. Today, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite characters. I know I say that a lot, but if you know me or know anything about me, I love weird goblins. And now, the most prolific goblin of all in the world of Warhammer 40k is the Red Gobbo. I do have a video that I put out a little bit ago talking about grots. But today I want to dive into the Red Gobbo specifically since it is Christmas and I have this lovely little Christmas mini diorama thing to paint, which, if you like, you can actually win. I am auctioning this off at the end of the month. Well, not actually me, but a friend of mine, Roadside Miniatures on Twitch, is running a charity raffle for St. Jude's. I'm going to put a link to all of that info in the description. It's an awesome cause. Please help out, buy some tickets. You might win this mini, so that'll be awesome. But now, the Red Gobbo. First, some real world history. The Red Gobbo was part of the Games Workshop game from 1997, Gorka Morka, where he was the leader of the Gretchen Revolutionary Committee, or the Committee, as one of the factions of Gorka Morka. A game where it was orc on orc tribes, similar to Necromunda, where you make your own gang and they fight each other for wealth and power and such. Except this took place on the planet called Gorka Morka, and it was all orcs fighting each other and these grots. And the Red Gobbo, he lived in this realm. Now the game was obviously discontinued up until 2019, where they decided to bring the Red Gobbo back as a Christmas mascot. Honestly, guys, it's not my favorite. I like the OG Red Gobbo. I like my little communist leader leading the revolution up against the oppressors, the orcs. He was a little green man with a little green dream. But I can't deny the new model's really nice. It's a wonderful little diorama. And I really, really hope one day that they bring back the real Red Gobbo. Now for the Red Gobbo lore, because sadly, miniature-wise, he is kind of delegated to just being a semi-yearly Christmas mascot. His lore kind of ends there, but there is some good stuff here. There are books. The Red Gobbo has a full-blown trilogy by Mike Brooks, who wrote Brutal Cunnin', The Big Daka, and all that good stuff. So, Red Gobbo lore, let's dive in. To start with the Red Gobbo, I believe we need to know his cause, and that would be the revolution. Now this started because on Gorka Morka, there was a giant Wa in a giant ship that crashed on this planet, and immediately the orcs and the mech boys started to build a new ship. They said, this isn't the Wa, we need to get to the Wa. So they started building a new ship to gather all the orcs and go get some crumpin' on. Foreseeing the lack of space in this new ship, they said, we're just gonna bring the biggest, the strongest, and the best boys to go and fight in the Great Wa. So there was a tag system. With this tag system, conveniently the grots were left out. Which obviously the grots are orcs too. They want to fight. They love the Wa. It makes everyone stronger, more powerful, smarter. That's what greenskins do. So they formed a band holding protests, revolts, rising up against their orc oppressors because they wanted those tags. All up until one day when the orcs found out that the Grots had actually gone on strike. The Grots that were on strike engaged in a march to freedom all across Mech Town and calling for equal rides for the Grots. Now, of course, orcs being orcs did not like that and attacked the Grots. Now, after this initial blow up, fights continue to happen and the committee became a more solid group here. And the Red Gobbo is, of course, the leader of this committee as they prepare for the big day when they will overthrow their orc oppressors. Now, for the Red Gobbo himself, right, there are many that could take up the mantle of the Red Gobbo. And if you know anything about Makari, Gazkol's luckiest git and his right-hand grot, it's kind of a similar vibe. You could kind of see how orcs work here, because there isn't one specific Red Gobbo. It is more of an idea that could be kind of passed from grot to grot. More so, it is a mantle that is taken, and then the grot rises to be the Red Gobbo. Even changing his appearance, personality, and all that, they will become the Red Gobbo. Much like how Gazkol can grab any grot, say, hey Makari, keep up, and then that grot will become Makari and have his consciousness. A similar idea, except this one involves a cool red jacket and a set of goggles. And these Red Gobbos will show up when the grots really need them most. They need a leader for the revolution. Some of the grots that are even featured in these books are Fingwit, Red Snot, and Goggles. And these little green guys are out there fighting the good fight against their oppressors. One day they'll do it, maybe, but they're grots. They always lose. They're tiny little pipsqueaks compared to the orcs, but they're trying. Now, I would like to read an excerpt from The Gobbo Rides Again. It is sort of an origin of grots, and you can get an idea of the Red Gobbo through this. Now, this comes from a vision that an orc pain boy, Stimma, had, thanks to a local weird boy. So let's get into it. It is barely a dream, barely the vaguest impression of an imagining. Only the broadest concepts of this memory still live. Concepts long lost to the orcish mind, never to be recovered, fire like unconnected circuits, their meaningless sparking signifying nothing but loss. Imagine a black desert below a black sky. Imagine it spreading featureless and bleak as far as the eye can see. The lone and level sands shifting over centuries to cover everything that was once built there. There was a war once. Stimma can't see anyone else around, so he reckons he must have won. Hurrah, says Stimma. The winds howl. Winning doesn't feel all that good. Stimma decides to keep walking, in the hope that there's someone else who won the war. They could be mates, or he could smash their face in, or maybe even both. He realizes as he walks that he's not alone, that he's being followed by something like him and unlike him, something not made for war, something whose purpose lies buried beneath the black sand. It's saying something. Its voice is reedy and annoying. Stimma decides it needs something to do, so he hands it something heavy he no longer has the semiotic capacity to recognize. This quiets it briefly, but even across nameless eons of time, Stimma can feel the resentment. The immortal order of the strong over the small is still fresh in this era. At the start of the journey, Stimma and the wretch are about the same size, really, but with every step it seems to weaken and shrink. Or maybe it's Stimma getting bigger and stronger. As they go, as it is diminished by the grinding weight of time, it gibbers and cries and laments to the terrible weakness of its form, invoking some authority that they both know it does not possess, that it may never have really possessed in the first place. It mutters to itself. Its features grow long and cruel. It shrinks closer and closer to the earth. Stimma realizes that the thing that's following him is basically a grot, and just doesn't know it yet. That's alright, it has a long time to learn. Together, the two make their way through the ruins of the past into the horrors of the future. With each barked command from Stimma, each clip around the ear, the wretch becomes more compliant. Eventually, outward sorrow gives way to a simmering, cruel look behind the twisted thing's eyes. That's more like it. Stimma cheers up for a bit, but his good mood is interrupted by a sudden, sharp pain between his ribs. It's enough to be fatal. The wretch's mind may have been collapsing, but it remembers where to strike. Stimma manages to twist around in his last moments, trying desperately to look into the eyes of his killer. This can't be it. There has to be something more, something to be learned. Alas, all that remains of the memory is a haze. Reality collapses into a great crimson wave. Here's the truth of it all. You will walk through a desert for eternity together, and you will hate each other, and you will die, and thus it has always been, now and forever. And then everything is red. Red skies, red dirt, a red light from a million dying red suns. Jagged red ships that ply the space between them filled with red crews spilling red blood, and at its heart, a white star. Blinding, beautiful, and terrible. So with that, let's go to the spinny shots. Thank you yet again for hanging out for another video. And with this grot, you might have noticed I have been really into the underpainting that I was messing around with in the last video with the rhino. Really trying to elevate my painting a bit recently and having a lot of fun with it. Also, the biggest and most important thing, please do not forget, if you like this mini, or even if you just want to check out the other ones that are in the raffle, it is for the St. Jude's charity, helping sick kids. It's an amazing cause. And I believe the tickets are only $5. Very doable. It's for a great cause. Please go check it out. The link for all that will be in the description. And if you want to come hang out with me while I paint minis live, go check me out on Twitch at twitch.tv/drinkyourpaintwaterlive. I stream on there at least 3 nights a week, and it's an awesome time. So yeah, I'll see you there.